What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22 My Team Career Mode, and welcome to a brand new season, Season 5. If you haven't seen Season 4 yet, I have posted a recap video. I definitely would recommend checking that out so you're not completely in the dark to some of the references that I will be making throughout the season, I imagine, with regards to things that happened in the previous one. But to give you a very brief rundown of what happened, we were locked in effectively a season-long battle between myself and Leclerc. After a few races, it really didn't look like anyone else was in with a chance of winning the championship apart from me and him. And it went all the way down to the wire, and we claimed the World Championship in the final race of the season, thanks to a bit of good fortune on the side of Max Verstappen hitting Charles Leclerc on the first lap of the race and giving him damage, which meant that we were able to sail off into the lead, and we never looked back from there. So Season 5, our objective is simple: win the Drivers' World Championship with either myself or Porsche, I don't mind which one, and win the Constructors' World Championship. That is the main one. Obviously, I would like to retain the Drivers' World Championship if I can, but that is not an essential priority this season. The essential priority is winning the Constructors' World Championship. If Porsche had had a slightly stronger final race, I think he got caught up in some contact with some damage as well, we would have been looking at almost certainly gaining the Constructors' Championship as well. We only missed out by about 4 points in a race where Ferrari failed to score points. But also Porsche failed to score points, so yeah, that was unfortunate. We get to sign one more sponsor now because we are finally Team Acclaim level 25. If you're wondering how it's taken us this long to get here, it's because we're playing on reduced acclaim gain as well as reduced money and resource point gain. So basically everything is incredibly difficult to achieve in a short time frame, but it's done that way on purpose. You know, it's meant that it's taken us 4 seasons to get to a point where we're actually capable of winning a championship, as opposed to, you know, in most seasons I see sort of, you know, maybe people will do a couple seasons and then, you know, season 3 they'll be completely dominant, whereas, you know, season 4 we had a very close, hard fought fight for the championship. Porsche is now 99 rated. It's basically only his experience which is letting him down. He's got maximum pace, maximum awareness, and effectively maximum racecraft. He's 1 away from maximum racecraft. So I'm expecting to see some very strong performances from him over the course of this season. There's really no need for anything else. We get an achievement for maxing out our pit crew performance, which means hopefully we shouldn't have any more of those silly pit stop errors that we've had over the course of our career. But granted, we only had 1 of those last year, and in the end it didn't make a difference. We got stuck in the pit lane for a little bit of time, but we managed to fight back and win that race, even though we lost out initially. We will be reaching our 100th career race this season in France, which will be fantastic. You may be thinking to yourself, how is it saying that this is race number 89 for you, but this is video number 93? And that's because I do a season recap at the end of each season, which has meant that there's been 4 extra videos in this series, and I intend to continue doing those because I think that people quite enjoy, you know, having sort of a refresher on what's happened, and it also helps new people get into the series if they haven't watched it yet. Meaning they don't have to start all the way back at the beginning at Bahrain 2022, I guess it would be, because this is, I guess you could technically call it the 2026 season. Bahrain, pretty good circuit for me, not particularly strong in recent memory when I think about it. We've had a win here in Season 3. Season 1 we had a strong start but then fell down the order, and then I think it was Season 2 we managed to gain off of a late safety car to work our way up into P5. So yeah, we haven't been too bad here in recent memory, but overall it's a track that I can be capable of winning at, have done once, and I want to repeat that if possible in this video. You can see that we weren't the fastest, which, given that we do have the fastest car now by a little bit due to the regulation change, I feel like we really should have had the fastest time, but it was very close. And also Porsche came out of the blocks and went 3/10 slower than a soft compound fastest time on hard tyres. So yeah, he's looking pretty rapid. I expected he probably would, now that he's effectively the best Formula 1 driver of all time. He's just a robot designed to do nothing but drive a Formula 1 car as optimally as he possibly can. So yeah, he is going to be very difficult to beat, I would imagine. But hopefully, like I said, we should be, now that he's got maximum racecraft and awareness, we should be minimizing those little sort of errors that he's been having creeping into his driving that's caused him to be pitting quite a lot and falling out of the points due to damage and whatnot. Finally, we get this car on track. We've got a new livery now. You can see that a bit more of the green has returned to it. We've also got the yellow due to sponsor commitments from, I believe our title sponsor is called Ovine. So yeah, that's a requirement from them. We have to have a bit of yellow on the car, and also our signature black and white, which you've seen. We crossed the line. It's a 1:27.3. I was debating whether or not to go again in Q1, and in the end I did decide to, because we were looking like we might not make it through. The Aston Martins have actually improved a little bit now, so they could be you know, strong performers in this season of Formula 1, or at least not glued to the back row of the grid like they were in the previous season, especially towards the end. You can see that Alexander Albon has actually made it into Q2, so yeah, a strong performance from him. I have been rating him quite highly over the course of the playthrough so far, but when he's in a backmarker car, it's difficult for him to do too much. On a used set of softs, we do a 1:27.6. We're going to need to see some significant improvement on that, I reckon, if we want to make it into Q3, because we're not the best car or the best driver necessarily at the moment. You know, we're still a little bit rusty, and we improved quite a lot to a 1:27.1. I'm hoping that will see us through. Although I did make the mistake of going slightly earlier than the end of the session. You can see that in the end, it's barely enough to get us through. By a matter of hundredths of a second, we managed to knock out Zhou Guanyu. So yeah, it's not the end of the world, but I do want to see a little bit more improvement still in Q3. You know, we really shouldn't be anywhere other than sort of P1, P2, maybe P3. I don't know. We do have the fastest car on the grid at the moment, so there's really no excuse for not being right up there in the mix. You know, if Ricciardo's doing a 1:26.6, I need to be doing a 1:26.4, and right now I'm doing a 1:27.4. Granted, that's on used tyres, and now we come onto soft tyres, but you see I make a tiny mistake there actually, and that compromises my run. I just take that corner a tiny bit too narrow, compromises my run all the way down to the final couple of corners, and yeah, that cost me a little bit of time, unfortunately. We could have been improving by 0.8, instead we're only going to be improving by about 7. It's good enough for a 1:26.7, it won't be pole by any stretch of the imagination, and in the end it's only good enough for P6. That is our worst qualifying in a very long time. I can't actually remember the last time that we qualified outside of the top 4. You know, I had pole after pole after pole after pole towards the end of the previous season. I think the last time I didn't get pole was Monza of season 4. So that is an incredibly shocking result, to see that I'm 4/10 off pole position and in P6. Yeah, we're going to need to put in a strong performance in the race. I cannot settle for a P6 in the race. You know, I need to be on the podium at least if I want to be retaining this championship. There's a lot of tough customers now. You know, Porsche is going to be entering the championship mix. I'm sure Verstappen is going to finally want to actually get back in the championship fight after years and years of not really being involved in it. He is not going to just go lying down, I imagine. You know, he's actually getting on a little bit now, if you can believe it. I think he's got to be about 28, 29 by this point, maybe. So yeah, he's probably running out of years to be a championship contender, I'd imagine. I mean, they're all sort of getting on. You know, the young guns are all sort of approaching their late 20s, early 30s, that sort of age. And you know, our oldest drivers on the grid, obviously you got Alonso, who I think at this point would be about 44, 45, and yeah, Perez and Ricciardo will be about 37, I believe. So yeah, definitely a scope for a few drivers to retire coming up. But now it's time to get into the race.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. We go racing today around the 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit, with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left tyre into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Théo Pourchaire lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, Robinson, Norris, Perez, Russell and Esteban Ocon, Joe, Gasly, Alex Albon and Fernando Alonso, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Robert Schwartzman and Lance Stroll, Latifi, Mick Schumacher, Tsunoda and Christian Lundgaard. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as once again we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice, and they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
Well, no encouraging words from Mark on this occasion. We're going to use our typical Bahrain strategy of a soft medium. We do this every year. In the end, we always have to box maybe one lap earlier than beforehand. But, if we can make the tyre strategy work, then we might as well go for it, is how I see things. And indeed, a lot of cars around us are also starting on the softs, including Verstappen, Sainz and Perez. I think Ricciardo's on the mediums as well as his teammate Norris. I don't know what Leclerc and Pourchaire are doing, but I guess we'll find out later in the race what tyre strategy they decide to go for. But it's been a little while since we haven't been the leading driver on a formation lap, so I'm going to need to be careful into the first corner that we don't get caught up in some sort of incident or some kind of problem to that degree. A little shorter of a wait on the grid as compared to when you're on pole, so things are going to get underway quite quickly, I imagine. And the lights come on. And the lights go out as we switch to the replay camera. I think you can see that Leclerc's had a slightly better getaway than Pourchaire on that occasion, and Leclerc has already moved into the lead of the Grand Prix. We've moved ahead of Sainz, but we are being challenged by Perez up our inside, who's dived on his teammate, in fact, and made his way up from P8 to I think that is P4. I have to take evasive action there to stop myself from going into the back of Perez, who is currently in P4 because I'm up in P3, but I will have to give that position back because I took it off the track, as well as giving back to Ricciardo as well. And Verstappen tries to get involved, although I don't have to give him the position back, and so I fight him back a little bit as we come on the run down the hill towards the hairpin. And we now are in, I think this is P5 at the moment. So we've made up one position off the start. We've gained on Sainz and Verstappen, but we've also lost out to Perez. So not a bad start by any stretch of the imagination. Now I want to move forward. You've got Ricciardo on those medium tyres just ahead. I want to do everything I can to make sure that we can get past him and start challenging for the podium positions. That was a massive start from Perez, up from P8 to P3 in the space of a few corners. He should be very proud of an overtaking performance like that. And maybe a sign of what's to come from Red Bull. Verstappen will be disappointed to, of course, lose out not only to him, but also to, I think he lost out to Sainz and Ricciardo as well as me. So he's lost about 4 positions off the start there. That was a very disappointing start for him. But now we're going to try and move forward with the race. We come to the end of lap 2, and you can see that Charles Leclerc is setting fast laps in the lead of the race. And while DRS has been enabled, Ricciardo is actually pulling away from us a little bit, and we're going to have to try and put in some strong performances over these next few laps to try and stay with him in the DRS range. You know, the DRS is going to help us hold on to the back of him, but I think these soft tyres maybe are already starting to lose a bit of grip, which is causing me to struggle slightly. And yeah, we're more being reeled in by Sainz than reeling Ricciardo in front. And in fact, I've lost the DRS as we come around to lap 4. You can see Pourchaire now sets the fastest lap, so maybe he's going to be trying to get back ahead of Leclerc in the lead, but we're going to be pressured by Sainz here. So it's one Jaguar pressuring a Ferrari up front and one Ferrari pressuring a Jaguar a little bit further back in the field in the battle for P5. We do manage to hold them off for now, and I think we are going to get away with it on account of the fact that we did have DRS to Ricciardo on that occasion. But yeah, we're going to be struggling quite a lot. And yeah, on lap 8 you can see the status quo pretty much stayed the same, and we make our way into the pits. We're one of the first cars to pit, in fact, because we had to change the strategy. We were initially planning on pitting on lap 9, but we've ended up coming in a lap earlier because we were not sure that the tyres were really going to hold up for much longer than that. So we thought, you know, better to stop now. It's a 2.5 second stop, not bad by any stretch of the imagination. And yeah, it brings us out, I think, in P19. So, oh no, P20, Latifi blast past there as well. So yeah, we're gonna have to try and do what we can to bang in as fast laps as we can. So when the cars around us pit, maybe we could pull off an undercut or something to that description. You know, we've got to get the tyres up to temperature quickly so we don't lose out to the cars around us. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Russell is out of the session, and you can see that he I think there was a lot of damage there by the looks of things. That's probably going to be a safety car. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, safety car deployed. So yeah, that's actually really bad for us now I think about it, because we've already pitted and everyone else is going to use the safety car for a cheap pit stop. So yeah, as you see as we come out, Sainz has actually jumped us, and there's nothing we could do. We couldn't overtake him because it's safety car conditions. So yeah, we lose out on a position based on that fact, which is very disappointing. I think we would have probably lost out on more if it hadn't been for the fact that so many cars were coming into the pit stop. So I imagine Sainz and Verstappen actually got held up quite a bit because they have pit boxes which are quite close to the front. It's meant that yeah, we actually only lost one position in the end. Pourchaire and Ocon up front, I think, haven't stopped under the safety car. That's a massive bottle from Pourchaire. He would have had a real opportunity to win this race, I think, if he'd have pitted under the safety car, but he chose not to, and that might be what hurts his race going forward. So yeah, I think we're in net P5 effectively. Leclerc is in the net lead of the race, so if we can make up a couple positions off the safety car restart, especially on Sainz, who we were ahead of pre-safety car, then we could be looking at a podium finish here. You can see that he gets a slightly better restart than me, but I am looking to go up the inside. We're going to try and brake as late as we can. We go up the inside of him and Ricciardo and also Perez, and we try and make another safety car restart triple overtake work, but we just can't quite pull it off in that kind of fashion. And in the end, it takes us a few more corners to get ahead of Perez. But we do end up getting ahead of him. It just doesn't look quite as cool as if we'd done it all in one corner. And then we come a little bit further into the lap, and you can see I'm now sizing up a move on Leclerc. We go down the inside at the penultimate corner, and we take the net lead of the race on lap 12. But we are going to be under pressure from Leclerc, I imagine. You know, later in the race my tyres will start to go off. His will probably last until the end of the race, and yeah, now I just have to try and do everything I can to hold on to this position for the remainder of the Grand Prix. I'm sure that there will be a lot more drama as the race unfolds, and yeah, we probably want to try and navigate at least Ocon. I don't know if Pourchaire is going to be too much of a challenge because he's already disappeared off into the sunset. But yeah, we'll see if we can get ahead of Ocon ASAP so he doesn't hold us up, and maybe we can start building a gap to the cars behind before they cause us to lose out on this net lead of the race. You can see Ocon trying to challenge us back a little bit. I'm not really sure why he's doing this. It doesn't benefit him in the slightest. He isn't really in the lead of the race. You know, he's going to be coming out outside the points, I imagine. And yeah, we now move through lap 14, and just try and pull away from him so he doesn't give us too much of a headache. You can see we've extended a bit of a gap on him already, and hopefully he will hold up Leclerc for a large duration of this stint. So we can hold on to the net lead after these guys come in. But lap 14 was Ocon's final lap on the medium tyres, and that has meant that Leclerc is now released to be directly behind me again. But he is 1.7 seconds off, which means he doesn't have the DRS. And now we're going to try and do what we can to set off after our teammate Théo Pourchaire. But I imagine if Ocon's pitting off those medium tyres, it will only be a matter of time before Pourchaire does the same thing as well. So we will see if he is capable of doing that. He's still got good pace on these mediums, so I'm not really sure where he's coming in. It might have been beneficial for him, honestly, to stay out on the mediums for a few more laps and then maybe try and do 9 or 10 laps on the softs at the end. But maybe the team knew something that I didn't and he didn't, we move into the lead of the race proper. Lap 18 now, and we're looking at Carlos Sainz. And after that, Ferrari was basically completely bulletproof last season. First race of the season, I should say, and he is already out of the Grand Prix, pulling off to the side of the track in the first few corners. So that is going to mean that the Ferrari probably will not be taking the lead of the Constructors Championship, despite the fact that our teammate Théo Pourchaire is pretty much out of contention for anything more than maybe some minor points places. After what feels like an eternity, eventually the safety car actually gets deployed, and I'm not sure really what was happening there. I was wondering maybe Ferrari might have been lobbying the FIA to trigger a safety car to try and get Leclerc back in this fight, and this all of a sudden to me started looking a little bit like a Crashgate type scenario. It's a bit convenient that Ferrari was basically impenetrable all of last season, and yet we now find ourselves in the first race of the season. Ferrari aren't winning, and one of their cars is retiring, which is going to allow Leclerc to catch up with me quite significantly. It is an awfully convenient scenario. Théo Pourchaire is in 19th. So I would wage to say that he's probably out of points contention at all, and any position he can gain is going to be fantastic for him. We're looking now at Robert Schwartzman, who under safety car running is also retiring from the Grand Prix. I don't know what's happening with him. I guess it's another Ferrari engine failure, and maybe the Ferrari engine is just bad this season. Who knows? My teammate Théo Pourchaire is going to overtake him to move into 18th, I believe that would be. I don't know who's behind him at the moment. But that is a disappointing way for the Alfa Romeo to start the season. I do rate Schwartzman quite a bit. I just think he's been quite unlucky with regard to what team he's been on. But maybe if one of the Ferraris or one of the Red Bulls, or even maybe one of the Mercedes is underperforming or something like that, he might be called up to join one of those teams where maybe he'll be able to compete a bit more. We have some kind of debris or something on our tyres here as we get ready to go on the safety car restart, and you can see that we actually have had a pretty good restart. We're pulling away from Leclerc, and it's looking like we're going to be able to hold on to the lead of the race, at least for the time being. But anything can happen. There's still 9 laps, I guess you could call it 10, because there's going to be 10 racing laps to complete before the end of the Grand Prix. So it is 9. What am I talking about? Never mind. We'll move on from that awkward situation. We've already dropped out of Leclerc's DRS range, and now as we move further through the race, you can see that I have been keeping the gap pretty steady away from his DRS range. So we're going to see if we can just hold on to this for a few more laps, but the tyres definitely are going to start going off. A few safety cars have definitely helped us out a little bit to hold on to some tyre life for a little bit longer, but I imagine it will only be a matter of time before Leclerc starts roping us in. We'll see what the gap is at the end of the lap. It was about 1.7 at the start of this lap, so any difference at the end of the lap will be what Leclerc has closed us down by over the course of the lap. And we can see that it's probably about a couple of tenths, I would say, maybe 2 or 3 tenths. As we move into lap 27, and there's only 3 laps left to go. So we are losing ground to him a tiny bit, but not so much that I think it's going to be a significant issue. We lose out a little bit more to him, I think, as we come through this lap. You can Keep an eye on the delta. Obviously, it doesn't really... it's not really reflective of the gap between me and him unless you judge it at the same point on track every single time. So he's probably gained on me again by about 2 or 3 tenths on this lap, I would say. And I reckon that this is going to be the lap that he moves to within DRS range of me, as I'm really starting to struggle for grip a little bit now on these effectively 20 lap old tyres. So yeah, if he moves within DRS range, which you can see he has started to do now, we will find it a lot harder to keep this gap big to Leclerc, because he'll have a much bigger opportunity to close us down in these DRS zones. And you can see that actually as we come to the end of the lap this time, the gap is drastically smaller. He's closed it up by about 6 or 7 tenths on this occasion, and that's all he needs to do again to overtake me on this final lap. So we're going to have to really push hard on the battery. Fortunately, I think we've saved enough of it up to the point that we will be able to hold off with the battery, so we're going to be burning as much of it as we can over the course of this lap on just about every straight that the game will let us do that. Yeah, we'll see if we can hold him off. We come through turn 4 and you can see the gap has been reduced to about 3 or 4 tenths. So yeah, he is really significantly closing me down at this point, and I am going to need to push as hard as I possibly can, as hard as the tyres will allow me. In fact, through these last few corners, you know, we've only got about half the lap remaining to get through, and the gap is only about 6 tenths. But there will be one more DRS zone as well as a long straight, and you know that the AI is big on their traction compared to me. So yeah, I'm going to be having to push really, really hard. We're going to have to be burning as much of the battery as we have. You can see that I've been burning a lot of it already. I'm not even sure I'm going to have enough to burn it in all of the places I want over the remainder of the course of the lap, but we will see if we are capable of doing that. And yeah, as we come through the fast right-hander, you can see that we're managing to hold on for now. I'm a little bit faster through that right-hand corner as we come into this long straight. But yeah, Leclerc closing me down still by a little bit and burning as much of my battery as we possibly can. And now, as we come into the final straight, I think we're just about going to hold on to this. We're burning some battery, we're pulling away from him a little bit, and we take the win. So, a great way to start the season. We take the first win of the season, and yeah, that's 25 points for us. I think Porsche actually ended up getting fastest lap, but it's not going to matter because he finished outside of the points. And Lance Stroll gets driver of the day, so I wonder if he scored points.
Well, that might not have been the finest race in history, but there's no question it was a critical win. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Well, I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of that race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way onto the podium now.
Just the best way to start the season imaginable. You can see Leclerc there has to settle for P2, much like he did in the Drivers' Championship last season. Sorry, I shouldn't start the BM this early. And then Perez in P3 as well. So yeah, not a bad race from him. You can see that he managed to consolidate that P3 after having a stonking first lap. And yeah, just a great way to start the season.
After this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Lance Stroll certainly put in an impressive performance today. No doubt his team and fans are extremely proud.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors Championship. The owner-drivers team move to the top of the table. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Porsche ended up P19, so that was a very disappointing result from him. I think he got caught up in an incident, actually, after my famous last words of he probably won't get caught up in many more incidents. He did exactly that after his pit lap, which meant he had to pit, I think, maybe he had to pit 2 more times, actually. I think a safety car made it look a lot closer than it actually was, him being 9 seconds behind Schumacher in P18. Yeah, just a very disappointing result from him all around, and I expect to see a much stronger showing from him in Saudi Arabia next up. For me personally, the target is to win in Saudi Arabia. You know, if you've seen any of my career mode so far, Saudi Arabia is one of my strongest tracks, if not my strongest track overall. We had a brilliant result there in Season 2, where we came home to finish 5th, or was it 4th? I can't remember. It was either 5th or 4th. I think it might have been 4th, actually, because I think it was our strongest result ever at the time. So, yeah, we were very close to getting our first podium in Jeddah in Season 2 in a very uncompetitive car, because we were just the masters of defense that day, and then we won it in Season 3 and in Season 4, and I'm hoping to make that the first track that I win for the 3rd time at. It's one of only 3 tracks that I will be able to do that at, actually, the other 2 being China and what's the other one? Austria. Both of those are on the calendar this season, so yeah, that will also become possible to get our 3rd wins of our career at those 2 tracks as well. Although both times in Austria, if you've seen them, you may know that I got very lucky with things like safety cars and stuff like that. It was kind of a inherited win on both occasions, rather than necessarily a straight, just, you know, drive and win type of race. So yeah, it might be more tricky if fortune doesn't go our way. But yeah, I mean, you can't be too displeased with a win, even if we didn't get the fastest lap. We take the lead of the Drivers' Championship, which means we continue where we left off at the end of last season. And I mean, hopefully this season we can just hold on to it for a little bit longer, perhaps, than we did last season. You know, we were looking strong at the beginning of the season in Season 4, but then when Imola rolled around and we had that DNF, we lost the lead of it. We didn't inherit it again until Portugal, which was the 3rd last race of the season. So yeah, there was about a 15 race run where we weren't leading the World Championship, and things were a bit sketchy. I'd like for maybe a bit more of a comfortable season this time around. Maybe we can win the Drivers' Championship with races to spare. You know, I've given you the entertainment. No, I'm kidding. Of course, for the sake of my YouTube channel, for the sake of my views, for the sake of my viewers being entertained, I hope that the championship fight is a bit more fiercely contested than that, but obviously I'm only in control of my own driving, and I won't know for certain whether we're going to have that kind of thing until it happens. So you'll have to stay tuned to find out whether there's any excitement in this season of Formula 1. Next up is Jeddah, but that's going to be it for now. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.